Les habla su servidor Isidro Garza de parte de... Are you all ready?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Isidro Garza. I am a member of LULAC, the League of United Latin American Citizens, and also of the Greater Houston Coalition for Justice. And we gather today to inform the public of a policy that's just been recently implemented by the Sheriff's Department through the County Commissioner's Court. And it has to do with tow truck operations and ownership. And so we have a few members here of an executive team of tow truck drivers and operators and owners. As we go through this program, we have some announcements for about 10-15 minutes, and then there'll be a question and answer period. But the main concern is this: the new policy from a civic perspective, from LULAC and Greater Houston Coalition for Justice. We are seeing a fee that is now being imposed on anybody that uses the tow truck. If you're broken down and they call, first of all, you already experiencing a bad day if you need a wrecker. And so to add to that, there's an additional $27.50 that is being charged above what was being charged a month ago. So the rates for tow truck are governed by the county and the Sheriff's Department, and Harris County and Harris County Sheriff's Department. And on October the 12th of last year, a contract was signed between Commissioner's Court and a company out of California called Auto Return. And the program had just recently been implemented, I would say, in the previous 3 or 4 weeks, in the recent 3 or 4 weeks. So the program is new, and there are some concerns by tow truck operators. As a community, I want to know what we're getting for those $22, and is there additional services that are being provided that we do not know about. So one of the things that we did, we reached out to the sheriff, and we met last week. The sheriff and he brought a good contingent of his staff to the meeting. So obviously he gave it the importance that this issue deserves. So having said that, I'd like to open up by bringing in a friend of mine that I've developed through this particular issue, Mr. Mark Denson.
How are you doing? My name is Mark Denson. I'm president of On-Site Towing. I'm a towing operator and a towing representative of a state association that represents tow truck operators across the state of Texas. My involvement with this is a concern not only for the industry but the community. This was implemented with the knowledge, or general knowledge, that this would create a form of community safety, public safety, and it would show some kind of efficiency, transparency within the industry. In fact, it's doing the exact opposite. There's been rules that have been put in place by the Sheriff Department to promote public safety, and this is actually just pulling those rules back. Tow trucks are being able to respond much further distances. It's allowing more trucks to get there, which is causing greater congestion. It's causing chaos on the locations. They're showing that they're using GPS information. Some of the tow operators are actually being shown out of state in Missouri. So the information being provided is not accurate. Vehicles are being lost as far as where they're being towed to. The Sheriff Department is thinking they're getting accurate information, but hindsight, that this company that is charging the $22 is calling the tow operators after the fact, physically on the phone, to find out where the vehicles were towed. The app is not working. It's broke. It's an unnecessary cost to the public. It's a very expensive cost to the public. $22 or $27.50 in total is a tacked on fee to someone having a very bad day. It's a huge surprise, and we feel that this is not something great for our community.
What was it like before?
Before, it was a set rate of $145.50 countywide. The sheriff's department imposed a rule that would only allow 3 trucks on an accident at a time. And basically, it was decided amongst the trucks on the scene who would actually get the tow. Now, basically what the sheriff department has done is they've changed the location of where the dispatch really is. Before it was the accident scene. Now it's like a 600-yard line, or 600-foot line, excuse me. And that's where the towers congregate. All the ordinances and all the rules are outdated now. Basically, they focus on the accident scene. So that 3-record rule no longer applies. You can have as many show up to that new boundary line, and they are eligible for an electronic ping. The problem is most of the time that we're seeing, the person, not one of those tow operators on the scene are even one of the ones selected. It's being someone selected from further away. So the sheriff department still wants the tow trucks there. They still want them responding, but they want to use electronic app to figure it out once you get there. And it's causing an unnecessary burden for us because we are wasting fuel. We're driving around. Fuel is extremely expensive nowadays, and it's an unnecessary wear and tear on our truck. If we're not even going to be eligible for the job, then we don't need to be there at all.
So the system was good before, now you don't, you think it's, now it's broken? The system was
The system was manageable before. The system was manageable before. And the reason I say that is there's no industry participation. We've never been invited to come to the table and help give insight on what we could do to make it better for the public, for the sheriff's department, and our industry. So basically, we have to comply with rules that are thrown at us when they actually know very little about our operations or the way our industry works.
Did we get your name? I'm sorry.
Mark Denson?
Thank you.
The other, expanding to the question that you asked, the difference in cost before and after, there's several apps that the tow truck drivers, operators, and owners use. There's several. One in particular called Tow Books. And that service provides the GPS location and basically the coordination. There's an accident, we need a record there. And that service costs $1 per tow. And so the question that begs to be asked is, why 22? What else is being provided? And at this juncture, we await a response from the sheriff. The sheriff did visit with us, and he took his team back together, and we're expecting a response from him on some of the concerns, some that will be raised today, and some that will raised with him then. So that's the first step. And then on the 19th of the month, there's a commissioners court meeting that the group has asked to be put on that agenda, because when it's all said and done, it derives from a contract that was signed by county commissioners October 12th. Anybody want to just comment on? I would focus in on 4 or 5. Can somebody address the safety issue of the new policy?
Let me ask, I just want to put one question though.
Go ahead.
You're talking about an outside company from outside California, correct?
That's correct.
And you're upset over that aspect of it. That's one thing you're upset about.
Well, not necessarily. the additional cost of $22, if we're getting, if there's a service that's being provided, of course it would be our preference to keep the dollars local. If there's something that's going to be spent, spend it locally. If the county were getting this fee and using some of those fees to improve the services, hire more sheriffs, get more technology into the industry, of course we would appreciate it. But if the way it got rolled out, all of a sudden you have a new policy, and now you have to collect that money from whom? From us, the users. And where is that? What is that money buying us? That's a question that we've asked, and I think we'll get an answer. It may not be satisfactory, but as of now, we're just comparing $1 to $22 with no additional services.
Was there any reason why they wanted the extra fees?
Say again?
What were the reasons, the original reasons why they wanted the extra fees?
We don't know. That's how the contract, there was a request for proposals. Two companies submitted proposals. A local company called UKI, and they bid $15. Auto Return bid $22. Even if it had been awarded to the $15 company, it would have a benefit. First, it's local. Secondly, it's less. But we would still question why 15 versus 1. So what is being provided for the additional services that now the people that are already hard luck, they need a wrecker. Now they have to pay additional monies for what? So from a public perspective, this is outside of the tow truck operation. From a public perspective, it's a concern, and we hope to get some answers soon.
How much, I guess, there's many of you, tow truck companies here together, united, so I mean, it's something that concerns you. I guess bottom line is it's affecting the way you operate business, and it's taking money out of your pockets, right? Is that,
well, I'm going to get some of the operators to address those, because there's very specific things that have occurred. I want them to address the safety issue, because it's taken a lot longer now with the new process to clear the highway. The other thing that is the amount of investment and the reduced load for whatever reason that most of the operators are seeing in the new process of selection of who is the one that gets, in this industry is called ping, who gets the ping to be able to pick up that vehicle. Mark, you want to assign somebody?
I want to elaborate a little bit more on this fee real quick. There's one major thing that hasn't been presented about this fee. Us as the industry, we're having to label this fee as a sheriff department administrative fee. Administrative fee, you would think that'd be a fee retained by the sheriff or locally. This fee 100% does not go to the sheriff. So we are feeling that we're having to misrepresent this fee to the public. We're having to lie to the public and say, hey, this is a government fee. This is an administrative fee for the sheriff department. When it goes to California, it does not go to the sheriff. And what's interesting enough is the fee is $27.50. The sheriff struck a deal with the company that we get to be so lucky to keep $5.50 of this fee, which we don't want, because it's a lie. I mean, you for cooperating, we get a $5.50 raise indirectly through a fee that's misleading to the public. And that's really one of our major concerns is in an industry that has, its troubles, it has its black eyes, it's looked upon poorly within the community. We've been spending years trying to raise ourselves up through education, drug testing, criminal background tests, professionalism, continued education annually, and we're being held down by poor policy or misleading policy to the public that continues a deception or a black cloud that we've tried to shake for years.
What about safety?
I'll let one of the guys talk. Anybody want to talk on safety?
Hey, How you doing? My name's Joseph Johnson. I've been a tower for about 33 plus years, maybe something like that. And man, I just see this system not working at all. And as far as safety, you know, we used to be able to go up on a scene, right directly on a scene, help the EMS people out, help the fire departments out. There's been times that you have to stick a winch line out there and hold the car open so they can get a body out of there so they can save the public. We're not even allowed to do that no more. I mean, we have a TDLR that makes us an IM, incident management. It makes us, we're trained to be out there to help people. And they say we can't even come up there no more. Just saying, the other day on the freeway, had somebody rolled over there on the wall, and my guys were there helping them, and the record inspectors pulled up and told them that they were fixing to get suspended if they didn't leave. So, I mean, it's just things like that, man, and the little guys that's pushing the little guys out, it's not cool. This thing ain't working.
So run us through that scenario one more time. You said that when you come up on the scene, you can't even, like, help anybody? Is that how it works?
That's what it says, man. They say that we can't be on that scene unless we're pinged to go to that scene.
When you say they, who are you talking about?
Auto return
The sheriff's department.
and the sheriff's department, because they're pushing it through. I mean, before, we used to be, sometimes in some parts of the county, we don't get a deputy for a little while. So sometimes we have to work with the fire departments and the EMS crews to help them do their job in a better way to help the public. And they say we're not even allowed to be there anymore.
Is that because you're not EMS trained? You said you're EMS trained.
Yeah, no, we have a TDLR through the Texas Departments of License and Regulation that gives us IM, which is incident management. We have cards, and we are trained to take management of a scene. We know how to do that. We go through classes every year.
And this is basically put out there. It's saying, is that because of lawsuits maybe? I don't know.
Nah, we've been doing this for a long time, man. We know what we're doing. We know how to help people. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Can I get your name? I'm sorry. Your name?
Joseph Johnson.
Joseph Johnson.
And as the public, what I see is whenever I'm approaching an accident, or when I've had an accident, is I need somebody to guard me, to keep the traffic from hitting me. The traffic's still going, and usually it's the wreckers. It's the wrecker service that gets there first. And now with the new policy, there's some restrictions. If you didn't get pinged, there's a certain distance that you got to stay away from, and you might even get fined. As I understand it, somebody's got to answer this, because I don't want to speak as a third party, but I have been told that you can even be fined for being there outside of the new protocol that they are trying to implement. And even that, there was not a program implemented to where you would try something out before you actually put it in place, and everyone would be reading off the same page. The operators, as I understand it, are learning what's required of them as you go along, even though they sent you a contract and some of the rules. But I prefer that to be answered by the operators.
Hi, my name is Tyler Rogers. I'm representing Harris County District 4. I work for Long's Towing. A big thing concerning the traffic and also with getting in trouble. So it used to be that you could be 100 feet away from the accident scene, literally, so we can have traffic control. Now they made it to a 200 yard, basically 2 football fields long. That's why we're not allowed on the scene no more. They've implemented rules, Harris County SO has. But from other record drivers that I've heard from in District 3, you also have record drivers still being on scene and still not, getting that ping on other record drivers that following the rules and stuff like that. So with us being, with that and basically almost getting in trouble, if we're basically on scene, we can get our tag, which we get every year from Harris County. We pay a certain amount for each truck. We can get that taken away and be suspended for either a week, 2 weeks, up to a month, and it can also suspend that company. So with Harris County implementing this, they're basically saying, forget the public, forget about helping them. Y'all have y'all's job, let us do ours. But at the end of the day, they're not even showing up till like 3 hours later. And then if we're not there blocking traffic, it can cause another accident. Like they were on the scene yesterday for 3, maybe 4 hours, and it pinged a truck that couldn't even take care of it because it was too much for them. So at the end of the day, there's certain things that they have implemented for us that we're not able to do. And even with us being on scene, we can justify, can we do this or not? But when we get that ping, all we're worried about is getting up there because we got a ping. And then, oh, can we do it or not? And then they have to wait another 15, 20 minutes for another record to show up. So discussing on the traffic control reason, it's not a good idea. I think it should go back to the way it was. We didn't have no problem with the 3 record rule. Everybody was taken care of. There was nobody losing money. And there was no citizens getting hurt. Because like I said, we're a big factor in that because it takes up to 3 to 4 hours for a deputy to show up on a scene, which is very ridiculous when the response time should be at least not even 15 to 20 minutes. So, let's put that there.
What's your name?
My name's Tyler Rogers.
Tyler, you said something about somebody showing up on the scene
Mm-hmm.
without the ping.
So some record
They're able to take that record with them.
some record drivers have took it upon themselves to do that, which they're taking the risk. But like the sheriff's office says, you got to choose which hat you're going to wear today. Are you going to wear I'm going to be the first responder, or are you going to be a record driver? You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, that's our good Samaritan. Trying to be a good Samaritan, but they're saying basically, don't be a good Samaritan. Be a tow truck driver. Do what you're supposed to do and stay back like you're supposed to, and not be a good Samaritan.
So somebody shows up on the scene, they didn't get the ping, they can still take that scene.
Sometimes it's been where cases they've been the only ones there, and we're way back. Then that this GPS system is basically pinging the closest wrecker or the furthest wrecker. At that point in time, they're pinging the closest wrecker, which is on scene, right up next to the deputy, or even right up on the scene. And it's not fair to the tow truck drivers that are following the rules. It's not fair to the citizens that don't understand why they have to pay $173 with extra $27 that they're paying on top of the $145.50. So it's just not fair for anybody. And at the end of the day, I think it's just go back to the 3 record rule. We were totally content with that. And with us being content, you shouldn't mess with it. Honestly, there was no problem with it at all.
You mentioned the record inspectors. How many record inspectors do they have?
So there's two in District 3 at this very moment, and there's one lady that is over it. Her name is Deputy Simon. We get inspected by her annually every year, and she implements these record inspectors to go out and look for these tow trucks that are doing wrong, and basically to try to see a reason to take their ID or take anything away from them. At the end of the day, we're human beings. You can't change how we feel sometimes, but they're trying to switch it up on us to where, oh, well, if you mess up, don't worry, we have a situation for you. We can know what to do with you.
But wait a minute, you have two inspectors and how many records are they over?
We have 1,003 at the moment. 1,003 tags given to those trucks, so that's as many trucks as we have at the moment. So only 2 inspectors running around the whole county doing that is, a lot. So
And they're both stationed to District 3 right now.
at this very moment.
Let me elaborate on the amount of trucks versus the amount of record inspectors.
Yeah.
We're going to compare Harris County to the city. We're going to compare Harris County to the city of Houston. City of Houston has very similar programs, such as Harris County, as far as they have record rule implementations, 5 trucks on a scene, I believe, right?
It's a first on scene, but then every car had one.
So they have similar practices, and it's working for them. They explored auto return, and they passed. Okay, they found that it was not something that they needed. The city of Houston does impose a governmental fee. It's $21.60, I believe, $21.63 now. But that fee is retained by the city of Houston Police Department. They keep it. That is what they fund their additional record inspectors for. I believe they have 15 officers doing the same job that the sheriff department has 2 officers doing the job of. So that was what our concern with this $22 going to California, opposed to being obtained and kept in our community for additional support, for additional policing, for additional training. That was our concern, is why does the sheriff not want this money? It's a government fee. It allows him to get this fee. Why is this? Why send it to a third-party company that does nothing for our public, nothing for our community, nothing for our economy? It's absurd to me. So you can see the difference between a model that somewhat is working in the city and that is obviously broken in the county. And there's a huge amount of money that's being sent, and we're talking millions of dollars that could be used right here in Harris County to fund more deputies, to get our accident response times from an hour, 3 hours, down to acceptable times.
Can someone talk to us, I guess, we're interested in someone going over everything in Spanish?
Yes, in just a second. Well, why don't we do it now?
Okay.
Estamos reunidos hoy, esta mañana, para informarle al público de una póliza nueva que ha entrado en el condado a través de la oficina del sheriff por conducto de la Corte de Comisionados. Que el asunto es de las grúas, los operadores y dueños de grúas que mueven los vehículos que están quebrados en la carretera. Y acaban de implementar una póliza nueva, tiene 2 o 3 semanas de que ha estado en la calle, donde a todos los que necesitan el servicio de grúa, para empezar, ya empezaron el día mal. Si necesitas una grúa ya traes problemas. Así que could we have the attention? Thank you. 50% de 50% of the population is Hispanic. So I think the fact that you asked for it to be in Spanish is I thank you. Así que en esta póliza nueva están cobrando $27.50 más. $22 está yendo a una empresa que se llama Auto Return de California. Y la pregunta que estamos haciendo nosotros, como público, le habla a su servidor Isidro Garza de LULAC y de Johnny Mata, LULAC Council Number 19, y también de Great Eastern Coalition for Justice. La pregunta que tenemos nosotros es, ¿qué es lo que se está obteniendo por esos $22? Antes se cobraba $1 para una aplicación que la tienes en el celular, y todos los operadores tienen esa app, y cuesta $1 ahorita, y por ese servicio ahora están imponiendo que usemos el otro programa de Auto Return y están cobrando $22. También quiero dar una clarificación. Se mencionó una diputada, Deputy Simon, de que ella está encargada de esta operación de parte del Departamento del Sheriff. Ella nos visitó en la oficina la semana pasada, desde las 9:30 de la mañana a como hasta las 2:30. Ella, de veras, hay que darle a ella crédito de que ella sí quiere entender el problema que traemos. Ella no está en contra de estos operadores. Ella aprendió muchas cosas durante ese término, y nosotros también, como operadores, aprendimos el sistema de ellos. Mejor comunicación va a resolver parte de los problemas, no todos, porque esa diferencia de $22 y $1 tiene que haber algo ahí, una explicación. Pero el Departamento del Sheriff no son los malos, ni la Corte de Comisionados, especialmente la diputada Simon. Yo le aplaudo a ella porque tomó el tiempo de tratar de comprender los problemas que están viendo ellos en la calle. Los problemas de que ya no le están cayendo los pings que le nombran. Ping es cuando ya el sistema lo seleccionó a usted de que usted va a ir a mover los vehículos que están quebrados. Es esa información. Entonces, el sistema antes de que implementaran esto, iban los de la grúa y 3 operadores llegaban ahí, y de ahí entre ellos mismos seleccionaban ¿quién es el que iba a levantar el carro o mover el tráfico? Durante todo este tiempo, pues con las luces y todo, pues nos están proveyendo nosotros seguridad. Porque el tráfico se va a dar cuenta y se va a detener un poco ya con las luces de las grúas. Y ahora parece, lo que yo estoy entendiendo es de que lo están retirando más, no quieren que se acerquen, y así que no pueden ellos prestar el auxilio de mover los vehículos para que se reduzca el peligro que existe en las carreteras. Pero, alguien, señor Rodríguez, si quiere decir algo, alguien más de los operadores, alguien que sepa español.
Mi nombre es Ricardo Cabello, soy operador y dueño de Texas Best Record Service, Houston Harris County. Ayer hubo una incident donde esperamos una troca volteada con una trailer y estuvimos ahí como 20 minutos. El tráfico como 1,5 de largo. Y no había recas ahí y el oficial dijo, ya tengo recas aquí, las voy a usar, y el dispatch dijo, no las puedes usar, tienes que hablar a auto return. Y fueron otra media hora que esperamos, y mientras todo ese tiempo salió que yo agarré ese tow. Pues llegué, miré todo, estaba muy pesado para mi troca. Mientras yo estaba ahí, hablé con un chavo preguntándole cuánto pesaba la trailer que era de él, y el chavo no podía responder. Y yo fui con el oficial y le dije, hey, háblale a la emergencia porque este señor no la va a hacer. Y todo ese tiempo, ya una hora sin ayuda, porque nosotros no podemos entrar y ayudar. Está bien, a mí no me importa echar mentiras y cobrar esos $27.50. Pero si esos $27.50 se quedarían aquí en Harris County, yo lo hiciera. Pero así como está, que ellos no quieren agarrar ese dinero porque dicen que es dinero sucio, nosotros estamos trabajando, estamos haciendo la labor, levantando los carros, ayudando a la gente. Ese dinero no es sucio. Ese dinero le pertenece a Harris County, no a California. Gracias.
Ese dinero se le cobra obviamente a los...
Nosotros podemos cobrar $145.50 en donde quiera en Harris County. Si estamos aquí, tenemos que ir hasta Southwest. Hasta Southwest tenemos que ir por $145.50. Por varios años ya estamos peleando que queremos que aumentaran, porque no es suficiente dinero para ir desde un lado de Harris County hasta otro. Y no nos quieren dar eso. Ahora que esta compañía entra, ese dinero, ahora sí lo ponen en el toll rate, pero ese dinero no va a ayudar a nada. No va a ayudar a Harris County. No podemos poner más oficiales, más equipaje, más carros. Todo ese dinero va para California. Si usted se pone a calcular ese dinero, son casi 10 millones. Somos arriba de 1,000 recas. En 365 días, un carro por cada reca sale casi $10 millones. Esos $10 millones les puede ayudar a Harris County para hacer todo lo que ellos necesitan, para que nosotros tengamos oficial ahí y la gente no tenga que estar esperando tanto tiempo, sufriendo.
¿Ustedes saben que solamente es en el condado Harris o es a nivel estatal?
Yo nomás trabajo en Harris County.
Can you tell us that in English?
Oh, no.
That was a good,
Well, I'll get to the part where I said that I don't mind lying to the people for $27.50 if that money was staying in Harris County.
what do you mean lie?
Well, they're saying it's a government fund, a government fee. It's not a government fee. It's money that goes to auto return in California. That money, I would lie about it and say, yeah, now it's 173, and turn in the money to Harris County. They asked me for a bank account. until now, I have not given them a bank account, and I'm not giving them my bank account. I don't know who they are, because Simon says, "Oh, it's a auto return. You have to give them your bank account number for what? So they can withdraw money." Is it? Oh, accidentally say, "Oh, we withdraw the wrong amount of money, and in about 2 weeks you'll get it back." It's not gonna happen. If they don't like it, they can take me off. I'm not giving them my bank account number.
So tell us about about your story, about what you just said happened yesterday to you.
Yesterday there was an incident on the freeway. Trailers on top of the median, the crash bars. We're there for about 15, 20 minutes. The officer gets there. The officer says, "Hey, I got records here." To dispatch, dispatch says, "You cannot use them." Whether we're all the same Harris County records. The traffic is backed up for almost 2 miles, a mile and a half. He could have used one of those records. But either way, it was the load was too heavy. I ended up getting pinged on it, and I got there, and I told the officer the load is too heavy. But the guy that was sitting on the ground, which was his truck and his trailer, I said, "Hey, guy, how much does that bulldozer weigh on top of the trailer?" He said, "Like about 16,000 pounds." I said, I'm not gonna put that on the back of my truck." But he struggled to talk to me, and there was no EMS there yet. So I went up to the officer and I said, "Sir, that man, the owner of the truck, he needs EMS." And EMS came, and they took him. They took him in the ambulance. So all this time, about an hour or 15 minutes, the guy sitting there, holding his head, don't know what to do. So
Entonces, el motivo, perdón.
if we would have been able to go up there the way we're supposed to be, we're trained for it. We could have said, "Hey," I could have got on the phone and said, "Need EMS." Give him the address, 14,600 US 90. EMS would have got there a lot sooner. They would have been there.
You can't call 911.
We cannot approach. So if you're sitting over there, I don't know what's going on over there. I'm 200 yards away. I have to stay 200 yards away.
That's 600 foot.
Yeah,
That's
2 football fields.
It's a huge difference back to be able to see what's going on. If someone injured, if someone on the ground, you can't see that from that far back.
When it used to be 100 foot. If we call 911, it'll have our name on the call slip and it eliminates us from the ping. So even though it's gonna eliminate us from the whole thing, like
You're now a witness.
Yeah.
Let me address something you said. If the database were correct, if the database were complete with auto return, they would have known the size of his vehicle. And when they
It says on my app, conventional.
and therefore, had their database been complete, they would have said, "No, he doesn't get the ping. Somebody else with a bigger rig that can handle that load." But he gets it. So what does all that imply? Longer delay to make that decision that no, his truck is not big enough. Wasted gas for him, of course, from an owner, but from a traffic, additional extended unsafe situation. So the database the way it exists now, you know what the wreck is. You have an idea, and you know whether your vehicle can do it or not. So maybe through communication, even working with auto return, if that's what ends up being, there's got to be a lot of more communication to improve the system that they have now. And they gotta talk to the people that are out in the street, not just some managers that they're giving them the input, and then those managers give the input, and the sheriff is oblivious, and the commissioners are oblivious to the real problems that exist out in the road. So they increased communication. I know will come out of this already.
Did you say that?
And I am against it.
Did you say if you pick up in Houston, you have to have a different license? This Harris County license that you have to tow around the city includes Houston and Spring Branch or whatever else?
So, yes, the answer to that is yes. You have to have different licenses to tow in Harris County versus the city of Houston, and versus smaller entities as in Jacinto City, Deer Park, LaPorte, Pasadena, other agencies. There's a whole lot of different deals. As far as what Mr. Cabello was talking about, all this could be eliminated by going back to the old system the way it was. This response time is ridiculous. Something that should have taken 20 minutes yesterday was on the scene for 3 hours. It's beyond our control, and it affects the citizens. You have to put yourself in, let's say you were involved in an accident. The records are there 200 yards away. You're bleeding out. We don't know you're bleeding out. Your kids in the back seat hurt. They're bleeding out. Ambulance didn't show up for over an hour. That's time that takes away from your life. You could possibly, potentially die because no one's doing anything. And then you have lack of communication between deputies and the citizens. Unfortunately, all the deputies don't speak different languages. And that was one of the situations yesterday. What took over an hour and a half to get EMS there too, to help this man to get transported, because there was a lack of communication there. At the end of the day, I mean, we just need to come to a conclusion to figure something out that works. This system's obviously broken. And not just for us, for the towing companies and owners and drivers and all that good stuff, but for you guys, the citizens. That's what it's actually hurting. And that's what we're trying to get fixed. The response times and everything for you guys. That's why we're fighting so hard.
Is it your name?
My name is David Garcia with Baytown Record Service, Baytown Collision Center.
I have a question about the independent, all of you guys, for the independent tow trucks, like the small guys. How does it affect them? Because I mean, if you're small, you got one truck or
They
whatever.
don't get as many
Well-
tows, they're not getting as many tows, and then guys are gonna go out of business before it's over.
There's companies out here, and we have a list right here.
This is from our last
This is from the last meeting. We called it an emergency meeting. We got 2 pages here. And we got off the phone, I think it was 6 o'clock that evening, made a bunch of phone calls, had an emergency meeting at 9 o'clock at a certain location. After the meeting with the sheriffs and all the brass staff and everything, we had over 40 people show up at this meeting that are obviously has their names, their phone numbers, if they're for or against auto return. Every one of them are against auto return. And then it shows how many times they've been pinged, how many tows they've gotten in the month's time that we've been in this new program. There's companies in here today that still have 0 pings in a month's time. So they have made $0, but they're spending hundreds of dollars every week going to these scenes. They're spending thousands of dollars monthly on insurance. I mean, it's a system that's not working, and y'all are more than welcome to get this and zoom in on it, but blur out the numbers and stuff like cell phone numbers. But this is a list that we gathered for the sheriff officer himself. I know personally a couple drivers that already had to park their trucks. They're already out of business. They don't have the funds to keep going. Me personally, I've spent $800 the first week. I went and parked my truck. Not because I had to, but because I wasn't going to chase my tail around. There's multiple people out there that's already parked and they're done. They can't afford to keep going in this industry the way it's going.
Highlight that it's only in your community.
So the sheriff department implemented this auto return in District 3. And unfortunately, it's sad to say, but District 3 is the poorest community out of the 5 districts. So they started off in a low-income community where, because they know that the citizens of our community, they do not put up a fight. They just agree to anything they're told and put their head down and keep going. Most of us are Latinos and African Americans, and I mean, it's just the poorest community out of all districts. And for them to start it in that district, it's kind of sad to say, but the citizens, they in this community, they just put their head down, shrug their shoulders, and accept anything that they're told that they have to do.
So this contract was signed in 2021.
Come close.
This contract was signed in 2021, October of 2021. They did not start testing it in a community
until June 7th of 2022. And this was a test trial to see how it's working in one community. I asked the question to the sheriff and command staff as to if auto return was so confident in their product to the county, if they knew that it was good, why impose a fee while we're testing it? Let's test it out and give it, let's give it a fair shot. But why tax the public for that test when other parts of the community are getting much cheaper tow rates? That was a question that we couldn't get an answer to.
Let me say something on that as well. So there is agencies in our area, Precinct 8, Harris County Constable's Precinct 8, that are not abiding by this auto return policy. So it kind of makes it unfair for the citizens, because if I load a vehicle off of Precinct 8, it's $145. If I load a different vehicle in the same exact location off the sheriff department, it's $173. So you have people over here getting charged $145, and you got people over here at the same exact spot, same intersection, same everything, but just a different agency. The price is $27.50 more, added on to the $145.50, which comes out to the $173. Citizens are not understanding. They're thinking that we're lying to them just to add an extra fee to our pocket. But it is not, that is not true. The truth is, Harris County Precinct 8 said we're not going to follow that. We're not agreeing to that. We're not going to use it. Since day one, they have not used it. There's been other agencies that were not using it, and now they are using it because they're being told that they have to use it per command staff, but they're not happy with it. No, any officer that I've spoken to is not happy with it, because the $22 or the $27 is being charged. They feel they should stay here because it's off of their sweat, their blood, their tears here. It should go into their departments, not go to California and support somebody that has nothing to do with what we're doing over here.
Thank you. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say it in English. I said it in Spanish, but it's pretty important that the Sheriff Department understand that, particularly Ciro Garza, Lulac, and Johnny Mata, Lulac Council number 19, and the Greater Houston Coalition for Justice. We're not against the Sheriff's Department. And the young lady that spent of her time, Sergeant Simon, she's a really sincere lady. This is my take. They deal with her every day, and she's enforcement, so I can see how a perception different than that which I got from her. She stayed in our office from 9:30 to 2:30, listening to the concerns of the operators and the owners, and agreeing. I would say 95% of the issues that were raised, we agreed on. Sometimes there were differences when we started, but we all at the end read off the same page. So I want to make sure that it doesn't go across that we're involved in anything going against the Sheriff's Department or the Commissioner's Court. The program that's there needs to be improved. Obviously, it's got its flaws, and only through communications, improved communications, can we get a better system. And maybe if there's some injustices in the fees, that they get readjusted, and maybe that the program itself comes to a pause. That's one of the things that we suggested, to have a stay on this policy, so that we can have a new rollout where everybody understands the program, and we're in agreement, and we're going to try to make the best we can out of the situation. So I wanted to make sure that I underscored that, and we really appreciate the effort of the sheriff for having taken the time to meet with us. He took his full staff to meet with us, and we could have stayed there longer. So,
What commissioner are you dealing with?
actually, we're not dealing with any one specific commissioner. It was with the sheriff's department, but we're going to all of the commissioners, a letter was sent out by our organizations, also by some of the tow truck operators, that we are asking to be put on the agenda for the 19th of this month. So, well, in steps, we are expecting a meeting soon with the Sheriff's Department as a follow-up to the meeting that we had last week before the 19th. So maybe by the 19th we have a solution to this or an approach.